to the Retic rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom resound in the Retic rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungle's deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound in the Retic rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic rundown. Hear the echo rings. Welcome to the Retic rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound in the Retic rundown. We're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Retic Rundown, your Retic resource, no noise, just knowledge. So I'm your host, G.I. Joe, and well, this is episode 15 and the second installment of Navigating Retic Laws and Restrictions. Listen, if you guys did not catch the last episode, stick around. You're going to hear this episode, but you're going to get caught up even more from last episode too. So there's a lot to discuss when it comes to navigating Retic laws and regulations, and we're giving you as much info as we can. So we got normally we got 3 expert guests. Tonight we have 2. So we had one that had to drop off, and that's all right because life happens and other obligations. So we are still going to get you guys a lot of information. You're actually going to get a couple extra questions thrown in. So even more and even better. Sorry, I got the hiccups. So I want to take a minute though. Thank you guys for tuning in. Your support means the world to us. So we got James Perry, we got Sammy Vargas, Celeste, what's happening? We got Daniel, Marcus, and Tiffany. How's it going, guys? Sky, hey, what's happening? Jay Lunsford, what's up, buddy? So thank you guys for joining us live. As always, it's a ton of fun. You guys know the deal. Like if you throughout this have got a specific question you want answered at the end, make sure you throw it in the chat. Mike will pin it. If you want it to go to somebody specific, then let us know that in the comment too. All right. Quick reminder, please support USARK. This is, some of y'all know the story of my USARK rocket ship. But this is now my reminder to like USARK in USARK, Florida. And they're out there, they're fighting for your rights, guys. And along with these guys right here that are going to talk tonight, they've been out there, they're fighting for your rights, and they're going to tell you how you can fight for your rights within your state. Last but not least, I want to say a big thank you to Mike. He's behind the scenes. He's running this on the Herp Collectors Network. So everybody throw a big round of applause in the chat for Mike, because without him, he would not, or we wouldn't have, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't have been started here. And there's several other people throughout the Herp Collectors Network. He's making a huge difference. And so big shout out to Mike. All right. So our first guest is Stephen. He's a respected voice in the herpetological community, bringing years of experience and no-nonsense approach to keeping and understanding these snakes, along with a lot of other snakes as well. He's a founder of Snaketuary, and he's a certified master herpetologist. He's had a lifelong passion for snakes, and he advocates highly within his state, and he's going to bring you guys a really good point of view from firsthand. So first up in the chute, man, let's welcome Stephen into the show.
What's up, man? This will be awesome, buddy? Man. I'm ready for part 2, man. I'm ready for part 2.
I know you guys. All he's been telling me is he's like, I keep trying to shorten my answers to stay within the 3 minutes, but I don't know if it's possible. And now we've gave him 3 extra questions. So you guys are gonna get a lot of info dropped tonight, man. But for anyone that wasn't here the last time, tell people who you are. I gave you a good intro with a lot of it, but I want to, where they can find you.
Sure, man. You can find me at snaketuary.com. That's snaketuary.com. We've got all of our social media there. What we do is we rescue snakes in homes and businesses. we take in pet reptiles people can't take care of anymore, and we do educational presentations with them.
Yeah. All right. And then, guys, he freaking fights for your rights within Louisiana. I'm telling you, like, we're going to get into it more. That's the famous line from last time. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I'm going to get into that deeper. So don't let me ruin it for Steve. All right. But
yeah,
we got a lot of stuff that Steve's going to be bringing y'all a lot of info, man. I'm telling you, I'm excited for it. So thanks for coming on again, man. And
thanks.
I'm hoping to have you on even more because I've just got tons of other episodes where I'm like, Steve would be great for this. So
awesome, man. Awesome.
All right. So the next guest, guys, that's coming on is Aaron. He is the founder of Colorado's largest feeder production facility, built from the ground up since 2015. The company's earned its PACFA license. He talked about that. He's a trusted source for zoos and industry professionals across the nation, and he's got a 5-star reputation. So, guys, I just want you to welcome my man, Aaron, the Rat Lord. Hey, you're muted. All right, find a button. Can we get somebody that knows sign language and we can have him like, those are my favorite people. No, not yet. All right. What about now? And he's gone and he'll be back. All right. So while he's getting that figured out, minor technical difficulties. Like I said, just want to say thanks again to everybody that's in the chat. And
sorry about that.
Got it.
Hey, there he is.
Sorry, I'm on my phone, guys. So I'm literally out front of a pet store right now. Just dropped rats off. Yeah, so we're just constantly grinding, delivering with 150 miles of Denver. That is my hustle. I don't have a day job. So shout out to you guys for letting me get in here. Apologize for that technical difficulty.
It's all good, man. Like, guys, this is his commitment to you all, though, because he's like, I've got to sit out here outside your pet store and bum your Wi-Fi right now. So
yeah,
on this podcast.
Yeah.
So, hey, very much appreciative that you're making it happen and stuff like that, because I know time is precious and time is money, so I totally get it. So as you can tell, like I said, that there was going to be 2 out of 3 guests. Jeremy couldn't make it. You guys know that he plays the trumpet and he's in a band, and they had a previously scheduled rehearsal that he just couldn't get out of. So he said he was sorry and that he will make it up in another day. So I am going to try and get him to do a live performance at NARBC with, or something, just to make it up to me that he missed tonight. And now it's on video, so I can't forget about it. But all right, guys. So like I said, now that I've introduced everybody, let's jump into it, because we got 7 questions and a finite amount of time. But all right, Steve, you ready? You're going to answer them first. All right, man. All right, so this is one of the things I want to hit, being a Retic podcast for sure, is do you think something that the smaller localities like the dwarf and super dwarfs could help mitigate concerns about retics in restricted areas, and specifically when talking with lawmakers and stuff like that?
All right, possibly. I think the problem would still be the mindset about the name retic, or reticulated python. Most people think pythons are big as it is, and people already associate that word retic with one of the largest snakes in the world. So I think that's what they automatically think about. The general public, and I'm sure most of the lawmakers, don't know about morphs or different locales and things like that, so they don't know about dwarfs and super dwarfs. It would take a lot more education from breeders and keepers to reach out to the public and the lawmakers to inform them of all the different locales and morphs. But in areas like here in Louisiana, the restricted snake permit is anything over 8 feet, and a dwarf retic could get a little bit bigger than that. And then also, we were talking last time about the different parishes. Here in Caddo Parish, the permit is anything over 3 feet. And then I also mentioned last time too, the next parish over in Bossier Parish, they don't issue any permits. They don't allow any snakes. Nothing's allowed. Not even ball pythons. So for us here in Louisiana, I don't think dwarfs or super dwarfs would really mitigate any concerns or help change any laws. So I think you just kind of need to look at even the counties and or the parishes wherever you live, and look at those individual laws for stuff like that to see if it would help at all.
That makes sense. All right, cool. Since that was a bonus one, Mike, we're gonna let him go at a minute 30 because we got ones with long answers coming.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, Aaron, same question. You know, and you don't have to fill that 3 minutes up because I think there's good points to be made. But it's up to you. You definitely have your 3 minutes, but we got longer answers coming.
So, I mean, as the law states, you know, it's the reticulated python would be the thing that would be the nail in the coffin because they'd say, well, what species is it? Now, the only way that I could see in the future is putting in perspective of like a pit bull versus a lab. Yes, they're all species of dogs, but they're different influences. And maybe putting a perspective of that to the lawmakers, that might make them understand like, hey, this isn't the same animal. And, you know, visually showing them with a perspective of this is the same age as this adult. That's one thing I like to do when I'm at the tables is I'm showing people localities and how much smaller they are. And it's just, it's hard to say though, at the end of the day, if it could really help or if it would, they wouldn't care because at the end of the day, they don't understand things like we do. They just see black and white. So it could be definitely harder, but it could be used to our advantage at the same time. That's one thing. It would just be educating them because at the end of the day, they're just behind a desk and only seeing what they Google or what we tell them. So, I mean, that would be my perspective with it, but I could definitely see it helping, you know, because you're not pulling a 16-foot out snake out. That would definitely be less shocking.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you take something and you're like, hey, this is 8 years old, you know, it's 8 feet, it's an adult.
Yeah.
You know, that definitely puts it into perspective versus like if you had something that is, you know, a mainland and it's like he's the same age and it's 20 feet, you know, like Karma is, you know, she's a big snake and it's a major difference.
Yeah.
My kind of point to this question would be that I think until we get them made into their own subspecies classified as a pure locality within each subspecies, I don't think you're going to see a difference because they don't recognize anything that any locality is a different full-on subspecies, right? And then with that, I see if we ever do get to that point, how you're going to prove pure that you're selling, like, you know, say, you know, it's under 8 feet. Well, pure Karampa, you know, typically I haven't seen one that's gotten above 8 feet yet. We'll see if it happens, but I would be hard pressed to believe it. I would be curious how we would prove that we're selling a pure Karampa you know.
For example, though I will say, because I deal with state inspectors that, for example, 50% of the animal has to be the length of the enclosure. You know, with the sizing restriction of everything being, you know, like in Denver, no bigger than animals than 6 feet, regardless of classification, versus some places species specific. They're going to have a heck of a time pulling out a tape measure to measure a snake too. So there are those situations where I'm sure the snake was a little bit bigger, but I was like, yeah, you know, this is a 6 foot snake. And they're like, okay, yeah, that looks right. You know, they don't know how to measure animals like that. Neither do we. We get like 3 different measurements off one animal too.
It's called guy math, man.
Yeah. I always tell her I'm 6 foot, but I'm 5'10".
Right all right. That was our bonus one. I was curious to see what you guys' thoughts were on it, but I think it would be tough regardless, even if we tried to mitigate it. It's one of those roads I just don't know if it's worth hoeing down because it's like if I get it all classified and everything else, how do I prove that that's what I'm selling somebody? We already have enough of those issues in the community. Somebody saying, "Oh, this is a 50% calato," and it's not, or whatever, just to make a sale, So,
So,
all right.
I think
sorry,
too. I was just
go
going to
ahead.
throw in there. I think too the lawmakers don't look at it like that either. Like especially here, I'll get into more detail, but they say reticulated python. That's it. So if you tell them it's 50% this or whatever, they don't care. It says reticulated python, so that's it. It's banned. It's restricted.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's get into question number 2. All
this
right,
is a longer one.
this is the long one. All right, so if the buzzer hits, man, you're rolling. Just keep you rolling.
All right.
Because I like
I'll
the
try to
thoughts.
talk
But
fast.
all right, the question, guys, is have they ever been involved in efforts to fight legislation? And we've got into the fact that they have, but what was your experience like? And that's what, he got a phone call.
That happened to me.
Somebody's got a snake emergency. It happened. He warned us it would happen last time. It didn't happen last time. It happened this time. All right, Aaron, I guess you're taking this one first, bud. Give us your...
All right, am I back on? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, okay, you're back.
I can't hear you now, though. Wait a minute. I can't hear you. Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
Where did my volume go?
Uh-oh.
This is why we can't have nothing nice.
Oh, man.
Is he
Hang
out,
on a
man?
minute.
All right.
Hang on a minute. Let's see. All right, hang on a
minute. Oh, man. I love it.
We're keeping it eventful.
This is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll let him come back in. But, all right. Aaron, what?
Okay.
We'll see.
Dang
Are you back?
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
You're good, man.
Okay, I got a call. I just declined the call, so we'll have to see what happens after the show, man.
All right. So, listen, we want you what your experience is like, man. Like, what has it been like fighting?
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
So Louisiana just fought with Wildlife and Fisheries for about 1.5 years over changes to the laws regarding certain species, including retics. For Louisiana, we had just gotten a new state herpetologist, and the new state herpetologist was listening to other lawmakers in other states, and that's where her information was coming from. That's where all the information for the new laws came from. There weren't any actual studies done in our state, in our area. Wildlife and Fisheries had several meetings over the course of a year. I went 4 or 5 times all the way down to Baton Rouge. That's a 4-hour trip one way for me. So that's 8 hours just driving. I got up and I spoke at several of the meetings with Wildlife and Fisheries. I sent numerous emails to Wildlife and Fisheries, Congress, and the Senate. I got letters from different fire departments, animal control, the police department, the sheriff's office, to show how much of an asset I am to the community. I told Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries in detail all of the safety measures that I have set up at my place and how I teach safety in all of my presentations. At all the meetings, Phil Goss with the USARK was there. He gave Wildlife and Fisheries several reasonable scientific points about the proposed ban of reptiles, including retics. I talked with Phil quite a bit throughout that year, discussing details about everything. USARK even had a few lawyers there to help with the legal side of things. USARK did help fight for us, and they tried to help. Wildlife and Fisheries did pass their laws. They did pass all the changes. So several reptiles, not just snakes, are now banned. Although they did update their caging requirements, feeding, and non-medical care of reptiles based on what USARK proposed. So that was a positive. Also, with the HR 9571 that Representative Betty McCollum tried to pass nationwide, and the HB 531 bill that the Senate was trying to pass here in Louisiana, a lot of people never even heard about those. The HR 9571 is under the CARE Act, and that was to answer. It was an answer to stop cold-blooded animals from suffering while on display for human entertainment. And it sounds good on the surface, and it sounds like it'll protect reptiles, but it also gives the USDA permission to inspect all reptile facilities. And reptile facilities would have to be governed by the USDA and follow their rules. And then reptile facilities would also have to get permits through the USDA. And then with the HB531, that was Louisiana specific, but I probably sent 50 emails literally and made numerous phone calls to my congressman and my Senate to try to stop all that. And I've got several other points, but I'll talk about those in other questions. So I think I made the 3 minutes.
Yeah. You got
All
you're
right.
right there, man. You made it. So,
Nice.
dude, that's a lot. But guys, like, this is where it shows that commitment to, like, what is it? What are you doing, right? Like, and this is where both these guys are great examples, and that's where I wanted for you guys to hear that experience, because sometimes, we got people that are sitting here and it's like, well, what do I do? What can I do? And sometimes people just need that direction. So hearing this, all right, I think this is where I think experience just comes at a great price for knowledge. So, all right, Aaron, let's hear about your experience, man.
So I guess where it's always been to start is we deal with Colorado Department of Agriculture. They set forth certain guidelines of cages and rules that we must comply, and they'll actually show up for random inspections. They only interpret the law to their perspective. I've had 2 different inspectors come in and interpret the laws differently. Some people are completely shut down on being able to run mice tubs that are 3 inches because they require 5. But I have never had that issue, because I try to put it in a perspective of, I'm here with these animals, you're behind a desk. How are you going to try and tell me that this animal shouldn't have the ability to be a non-bipedal animal that doesn't have to exhibit unnatural postures? That's my biggest gripe with them. And then from there, I talk about it all the time, is they want their money. They want tax revenue. When I got Federal Heights to change the laws, because they called me about some other laws, like, hey, I want to run a reptile store in your area and bring reptiles, but I can only do rodents here. And they're like, set up a town hall meeting, met with like 6 elderly people. And it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, these people are never going to understand. And I showed them these animals and I talked about my passion. And they're like, that's nice and all, but how much money can you bring to our state? And, I don't want to go in the weeds, but if marijuana should show anything, is when it went recreational, it swept the nation, because they seen how much tax revenue that they were missing out on. They're like, oh, I want a slice of that pie. To me, that was the one deciding factor, is because I had to put in a number of tax revenue for them to give me the laws that I wanted. And they did. One person, nobody else was there. We just are currently fighting against this caging requirements. They want us to now, we're proposing a foot of enclosure for every foot of animal, but spoke nothing on the depth of the enclosure or the height of the enclosure. So a 16-foot snake could be in a PVC pipe that's 16 foot long, and that would technically count as an appropriate enclosure, which to me, my biggest experience is just putting it into perspective to these people that, you guys are meaning well, but you need our guidance, because you get a study from PETA and that study is skewed because you see cigarette research back in the 50s of why it was okay and healthy to do cigarettes. If you sit there and put in perspective of these funded studies by these agencies that have no real intention for regulation, but just controlling the nation. And that's my biggest thing, is what I've seen is ignorance is bliss. And a lot of these rules make them sleep good at night, but really don't help the animal. It doesn't make sense, and it's real frustrating. You got to like talk to them like they're a toddler sometimes. But that's my experience.
So it was this proposed law is 1 foot of length, not square foot per foot.
Length times width means nothing. We're hopefully going to be able to get it shot down. The meeting's actually the 25th of this month. Phil has been attending that meeting. It's been an honor to meet him and just kind of talk to him about how to approach these people, because he does this day in and day out. I asked him, like, what do you think if I should bring up this? And he's like, that's nice, but they're not going to understand it like that.
No, for sure. And that's where
they did try to do that with us too, as far as the catering requirements. But when Phil presented all that stuff to them, That's one of the things that they actually changed. They amended all that in our rules. So we still have stuff that's restricted, but the caging requirements are gone. So
That's good. Yeah, right now it's 50%. So a 16-foot snake can be an 8 by really no depth restrictions. But again, I could have a 16-foot snake in a PVC pipe that curves and they wouldn't care. That's where I try to explain this thing like to them,
Huh.
and it just doesn't make sense. They're rewriting them hopefully, and they're lowering the threshold before needing a license. So if I bring an animal in, I have that animal and I sell that animal, that counts as two transactions. Now if I hatch out babies, that counts as a transaction. And if you have over 200 of those situations in 1 year, you need a license. It right now is 400, but they're trying to cut it in half.
Wow.
Yeah, it's scary.
Man.
Somebody behind a desk deciding the fate of my future when I would only never have dreamed it be because of a law change why I couldn't do what I do.
That's wild to me. You need a license. Need a license to keep an animal, but you don't need a license to have a child. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you, my children are a lot more problematic than my snakes are.
The
They got a lot
license,
more problems.
the license they want you to have too automatically nullifies you to have hog nose. Right now, the Department of, the Parks and Wildlife allows you to keep and catch two native hognose species. But the second you get that license, the responsible person can no longer have that animal, which boggles my mind.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lick of sense. Whatever.
Anything rear fang venomous you can't have in Colorado. It's so lame.
Wow.
All right, let's get back to question number 3. All right, so Steve, what role do you think that the breeders, keepers, and the larger reptile community should play in shaping future legislation?
All right, man. This is kind of a long one, and I've got a hot take with this one too.
Y'all getting called out right now.
Oh, I'm about to. I think, of course, joining USARK helps out a lot. Okay, they've helped us out a lot. But I think just being a member of USARK is not enough. People need to make their voices heard, and they need to actually show up when it's time. This is my hot take, and I'm going to bite my tongue not to name names. I'm going to bite my tongue hard. A lot of the big name reptile people never showed up to any of the meetings with wildlife and fisheries. Not one meeting. I don't know if they sent emails, but I know they weren't at any of the meetings. We needed the reptile community to come together and voice our concerns, but almost all of the people who should have been there were not. There were maybe 4 or 5 other individuals besides me and Phil Goss at each meeting. There were a few new ones who only showed up at the last meeting to voice their concerns after wildlife and fisheries had already made their decision. But the big name reptile people in Louisiana were never there. And some of them even live in Baton Rouge. That's their city. So I took off work. I drove 8 hours each time to go to those meetings, but they couldn't even show up one time. That really irritated the fire out of me, big time. Again, with the HR 9571 that was trying to get passed nationwide, and with the HB 531 bill that the Senate was trying to pass here in Louisiana, people need to speak up about those. Send emails, call Congress, call the Senate, get involved with your local animal control, talk to wildlife and fisheries, develop relationships within that community, within your community. We need to do more than just show off our animals. I see that too many times. People are just showing pictures of their animals, but they're not doing anything with them. The reptile community needs to do more outreach. The reptile community has to educate everybody, especially the public. The lawmakers, get involved and show up when it's time to show up. Don't just sit back and say somebody else will take care of it. Actually show up and do something about it.
Yeah, no, bystander syndrome. Bystander syndrome is it's a horrible thing that allows people, because everybody else is like, somebody else is going to take care of it. And this is the reality, guys, is that nobody else is going to take care of it. There's so few people that are actually personally like committed to making sure that you can still keep these animals. And I promise you that we've talked about this before. Every one of these laws, it isn't just your snakes, it's not just your reptiles, it's your fish, it is your birds, it is anything and everything that is like a normal kind of like pet store pet, your parakeets, all that stuff, all that's going to go away too, because it's all like inclusive, and this is the way they write it. So if you guys got anything, like I got a gecko, I got spiders, all of that stuff, it all gets lumped in stuff in bills like this that they try and sneak in. So it pays to pay attention. All right. The Rat Lord, my man Aaron, what is your thoughts on this one?
So there's a good saying. They came for my reticulated python. They came for reticulated pythons. I did not keep them, so I didn't complain. They came for my iguanas. I didn't keep them, so I don't complain. Until one day they came for my ball pythons, and I had nobody else to back me, and by then it was too late. They're never going to give our freedoms back. It's always a slippery downward slope. So I'm just it's the numbers showing up to the meetings. I don't know how many names, not naming them, that people that are supposed to be pillars in this community said, "Oh, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at these meetings." Ghost. I'll be at the next one. Ghost. And it's just so frustrating. It's like actions speak louder than words, and the one PETA person complaining will be drowned out by the many. They're not going to sit there and ban something when there's so many people against it. It's just so frustrating. And with the larger reticulated python people, especially, you guys need to bring a big snake when you're doing an expo. You need to sit there and be like, yeah, this is the reticulated python. When it gets older, it's going to be like this one right here, because that's going to show people perspective of what they're looking at. And then I like to go as far as doing educational talks, even if at like the event or at my table. I'll tell people, come back in a half hour. I'm going to talk about these animals. I pull out a giant 16-foot snake. I talk about practices to prevent from you being hurt by these animals, from like covering your neck to biting the tail if they bite you. Just talk about the ecosystem being impacted down in the Everglades, not just by these animals, and how it's a blanket statement for just our species. So, we're the first ones as large keepers that are always going to be attacked. So we have to be the loudest, the most aggressive. I mean, they have 50 to 30 eggs on a low end. Donate one of your higher end animals to USARK to help fund the fight. The Lacey Act, if it would have got amended and just rewritten rather than just through the Supreme Court shut down, we could be effectively close that chapter of our life. But now, because it was never amended, every year it's reintroduced for that amendment of these animals need to be banned. There needs to be a white list. If we're loud enough and big enough, nothing can knock us down. And that's my biggest thing, is like, we need to stand together. It doesn't matter what you keep, because when you walk outside that expo with that animal, somebody's going to look at you like you're weird. We're a community. We are a nation of people that take pride in our animals. And just because it doesn't have fur doesn't mean we shouldn't love it. It's just frustrating that I try to get people behind me and rally the troops, and I'm the only one at the battle.
Right. No, yeah, it's that part I could definitely see being like a super frustrating piece, especially if you're getting said. I mean, I'm the type guy, you're always going to get the benefit of the doubt from me in the beginning. But by the second time that you said the first time, whatever, like, we'll see. I'm going to get the second time you set a standard, and now that's your standard, and that's where I see you at. And don't get mad when I call you out on it, because you set that standard. You may not believe that in your mind that you are the way that you are, but listen, your actions showed how you are. So I'm just calling a spade,
Yep.
I think both of you guys have got 100% sound complaints. Here we don't feed into the drama, so I'm glad y'all didn't put names out there. But
They know who they are.
They
Mhm.
exactly right. Like, and a lot of
Mhm.
the people listening know who they are too. So
Yeah.
it's once you put the knowledge out there, it's going to catch on. So, all right. So let's talk legal landscape. All right. And so the previous question kind of started to hit on it, but do we think it's going to improve, stay the same, or get worse in the coming years? And I think the proof's in the pudding that if you sit on your laurels, guys, that it's going to get worse. But let's really push, like, what is it going to take to at least stay the same or improve? Where do you guys think? Because we all know if we don't do anything, it's just going to get bulldozed over.
Mhm. Are we ready to go? You ready to answer that one?
Yeah, man.
All
Yeah, go
right.
for it. I'll shut up. My bad. Well, it's
That's
not
all
my
right.
podcast. It's your podcast.
I think it's possible it can improve, but only if and when all of the reptile owners stand together and voice our concerns as one. It won't happen, and it can get worse if we stay divided or don't speak up. I think groups like PETA will continue to push for animal bans, and with the fact that wildlife and fisheries from all other states talk to each other, they're going to collectively try to make the rule changes to stop people from being able to keep snakes and other reptiles. It's going to take the whole reptile community, all individuals, to come together and fight back against the bureaucracy. Um, and from my perspective, I see too many cliques within the reptile community. So there's certain people that only support their little small circle, but not every keeper as a whole. We've got to break up the division. We've got to break up the cliques. So when the reptile community actually becomes a community, that's when things can change for the positive. But we've got to come together to do it.
No, yeah, 100%. Guys, you don't have to agree on everything to be a community. That's the biggest key. We have got so used to this idea that now if I disagree with you on something, we can't be friends. It's wild to me. But 100%, I agree with you on that. Proactive steps. Let's talk that. Like, guys, like, your state, being a part of USARK, right? But we're responding to those. What other proactive steps would you say to someone who was like wanting to do, if they asked you like, what could I do proactively? What would you tell them?
Man, get involved with the community. Show up when you have events. I'm not going to name names or throw anything out there, but when we've had reptile shows here, the community doesn't show up. The local people that are here in this area with reptiles never showed. I was the only one to show up to every reptile show that we've had. So the local people here have got to show up. We've got to come together. We've got to support each other. And so get involved with whoever, if you got a reptile group, local group, join that group, talk to people, network, get together with other people to try to show the positives of everything. So I think it just is supporting one another, especially just starting locally, and moving out away from there, but start with your local core group.
I feel you. All right, Mike, we'll count this one out and go to Aaron. So what's your perspective, my man?
So, I mean, to kind of touch base with what you guys were just saying is, community. If we stand together, there's only so many bullets in a gun before they need to reload, if you get what I'm saying. There's more ammunition or more people than there is ammunition to fight back. I actually do community events. I cook out during the summer for the community here. Anyone's welcome to come. We hang out. Leopard gecko people getting along with retic people. It's just a beautiful thing. During the winter, I host a holiday party for those who don't have family and would just want to feel a sense of unity. We working together are going to make more of an impact. And, we have to be proactive on reaching out to these people to educate them like, hey, it's strength in numbers. For my example, PACFA out here wants more people licensed. If right now there's 8 people in the state that are licensed for reptiles, I believe. If that number went up to 100, do you think they're going to listen to PACFA? No, or to PETA? They're going to say, fuck no, I'm sorry. This is like a couple $1,000+ or tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. This is important to us. Because again, to us, we love the animals, but to them, this is a business they're trying to have control over. And there's incentive for them to protect that revenue if it's in strength and numbers. So more people just getting involved, paying the license, being a community. That's what I think will really prevent the slippery slope, because at the end of the day, it's going to get tighter and tighter, just like that snake constricting its prey. And then one day this industry is just going to die. If we do not sit there and bite the tail of the beast, it's never going to let go of us. I always say, you know, they're never like, now, for example, we've been having these PACFA meetings, and I've been fighting for those 2 inches of cages, so a mouse can have 3 inches instead of 5. They said, and I quote, "There was not enough people at this meeting expressing concern about this subject, so we are going to table it for a later date." But because there was 5x of people talking about the reptiles, that was the focus of the on forward meetings of this year. So it's just because I'm one person and I am supplying the whole state, that doesn't matter. But if there was 20 people that talked about how this isn't working for their operation and these animals are getting anxiety, stress, mammatory glands issues, they would have took it a little bit bigger in consideration. No matter how many studies I presented, I was just one person to them.
So that's where, you know, guys, if nothing else you take away from that, mob mentality works both ways. All right. You see it after a freaking football game in the Philly area every time. All right. They win, they destroy the city. Mob mentality works the same way for a positive action. It works for a positive action. So coming together, you know, what we were talking about, the other side of it, the one thing I want to talk about that Steve hit on too is Fish and Wildlife, guys. Fish and Wildlife is a good old boys club. All right. They all talk to each other. All right. They're all talking to each other. And they are such a minute piece of the government, right, that they get away with. There's a lot they get away with. All right. There's a lot that they get away with. And if you don't think it's a good old boys club because they are a minor or a minor, or not a minor piece, but a smaller group, you're wrong. So the more that you can make a positive impact on whoever your fish and wildlife people are, it's got a ripple effect. All right. It has 100% ripple effect because you just have to put that positive spin on it in people's minds for them to start talking to someone else and saying, well, hey, all right, this came up negative from my state. I don't know. We've got this perspective. And it doesn't automatically start a flipping snowball effect that now ends up with all of us losing our rights and stuff like that in the long run.
Well,
So
I think I wanted to add to that too. I think, you know, we know that wildlife and fisheries from different states talk to each other, but I think, like you were saying, having that ripple effect, that positive, that snowball effect or whatever, if the reptile community comes together in each state and brings up the positives, brings up all the good stuff, and actually educates wildlife and fisheries in their area, hopefully the wildlife and fisheries could take it back to each other when they have their meetings to say, well, we're getting this information, this and this. Hopefully it can collectively change their minds, I guess. You know, I guess that hopefully that's not just wishful thinking, but, you know, if they hear it from all over and not just one little area.
yeah, no, 100%. So, all right. So let's see. What was our next question? All right, we got what, 3 more, right? All right. All right, guys. This is the one, especially if you are a newer keeper or you know you're keeping the wrong way, stuff like that. All right, let's talk about how important responsible ownership is in shaping how lawmakers and the public perceive reticulated pythons, guys. So this is going to be points that go home to the people that are not keeping them right and then posting it on social media.
Yep. All right, man.
And Herp, go for it.
Ready
go
for
for
this?
it.
All right.
Yeah, because
So
I'm going to rant.
responsible ownership is of utmost importance. Keeping reptiles in clean, locked cages in an escape-proof room is very vital. We've seen it way too often where an irresponsible pet owner does something stupid and it makes us all look bad. We need to be careful on what kind of posts we make on social media. We need to educate everyone, especially non-snake people, on the wonders of snakes and how awesome they can be, not the negative side of it. We need to show the positives and how the positives can actually outweigh the negatives. That's one big reason why I stated earlier that we need to quit just showing off our snakes, and we actually need to do something with them. We need to use them for educational purposes. We need to reach out to our communities more and show the public the right way of doing things. I think if we can change the public's perspective on snakes, that could go a long way in helping everyone, including lawmakers. We don't need to talk about what happened last week. I'm sure everybody saw what happened last week on social media. But it's that kind of irresponsible and cruel action that causes issues within the reptile community. There's also the video, it's been around for a couple of years, of the lady who was trying to get a retic out, and she got bit because she wasn't watching the body language of the snake. If she had just paid attention to the body language, she would know that the snake, what the snake was about to do. And both of those are viral examples of irresponsible ownership. And there's very easy things that we can do to stop the negative perception of our snakes. And it all goes back to the education. But the clean cages, we've seen too many pictures. I'm not going to name names. We've seen too many pictures of nasty cages, people that don't keep them right. Keep them in, here we have to keep them in locked cages behind a locked door, escape proof rooms so they don't get out, and just being careful what gets out there. We need to show the positive side of it and show how that can outweigh the negatives.
100%. This is the big one, guys. Like, don't repost stupid fucking videos.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. You and your little comment to go out to all your friends, right? I promise you, the majority of your friends on your Facebook and your Instagram, they are not snake people. The majority of them are not. That's the reality. What do they see? They see your comment, and they already don't agree with you because you have not persuaded them, because maybe you haven't been given the opportunity to, whatever. Maybe they're unpersuadable. Who cares? All they see is a video that is literally, and most of this is what I'm going with, the one where the girl got bit. But videos like that, all right, if that's what you keep reposting, all you're doing is like reiterating that fear in their mind. See, I told you, they're all trying to eat you. They're all trying to eat you. Like if you guys keep reposting that, thinking that you're saying something. So one thing I hate about social media is it has made everybody think that they have a voice, even when they shouldn't. Like it's just, golly. Like just because you can say it doesn't mean you should. It's taken all thought process from it. And you're not even seeing the rippling consequences of your actions. You're just like, I want people to hear that I am against this and this was stupid, and I want to tell people how stupid they are. You're not doing anything, guys. Like give it some real thought, because really you're hurting yourself more. You're hurting the community more than what you think. Bite videos, live feeding videos, none of that shit is cute. It's not funny. If you're not doing it in an educational way, then like and most of them, 90% of them aren't. It's a six. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's a hype thing. It's sensationalism.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. All right. My bad. I'm ranting. All right, Aaron, you rant. You rant for a little bit on this one.
So, yeah, I mean, as new keepers, we love watching our snakes eat. It's mesmerizing. As you have 100, you don't sit there and watch them. Those are things we all know they do. Nobody needs to see it. Rather than showing the bite video, show the video of the snake crawling out onto your hand super calmly. That's going to put a perspective in people's mind of, look how gentle that animal is. Not the Jay Brewer videos where they're trying to capture the moment of a snake striking on eggs, but rather pulling the animal off the eggs easily and sitting there, showing the gentle side of these things. I mean, these animals are majestic. They're beautiful. We know what they're capable of, and they know what they're capable of, but they have developed a level of respect for us that saying, oh, this dude's here to clean my cage. I'll let him do it. I get to go out and cruise the room while he does it. Just those kind of moments, capturing the beauty of these animals and You know, when you have a group of individuals around the table, capture that moment where you captivate their attention, or the little kid, you know, don't necessarily put the kid next to your snake in a photo in your living room because you have a calm animal. That's the highlight reel of the PETA thing, where people are like, oh, he's knowingly exposing his child to danger. Because in the end of the day, yes, that animal may be calm, but it is still just like driving a car. You must respect what it's capable of. And I don't bring my chicken downstairs, even though I know that it's going to be on the other side of the room, because there's always that opportunity. And you don't want that to happen, because look at that Jeff guy. What happened? He got bit, and now the legislations are being reconsidered down there on having HOTS. And that's because all it takes is that one sensationalized moment, because if it bleeds, it leads. That's the thing with the news, unfortunately. So it's, for me, that's the one thing is, do you want your grandma to see that? Is that something a stranger who has a cat is going to be okay with? Doesn't matter how you try to put spin on it, it's going to be too late, and it's going to be out there. And no matter how you try to retract your statement or justify your means, it's already out there, and people have already moved on, and that has been already imprinted in their head. That's really how I feel
100%.
about it.
So yeah, I mean, and South Carolina is it's the current one, guys. If you aren't watching it, and I'm trying to think, what is it? Joelson or Holly? I know I posted a video though of him speaking, you know, there, and I love his videos, and he keeps HOTS. He's got he's got one of them that he's got the only one in the U.S. You know, like, so he's a well-respected name, much like, you know, both of you guys are in the state when it comes to South Carolina. But again, he's like, he called it out. He's like, I'm one voice. He's like, but he's like, honestly, he's like, with some of this stuff, if we don't keep it, he's like, it's never going to exist anymore. He's like, I'm, you know, sitting here doing this, and I'm the only one that has one of these in the United States, period.
It's
Zoos
just like
don't
the
even
tigers. It's just like tigers. There's more in captivity than there are in the wild. And if we don't keep these animals, at some point, the lack of importation, those animals just become food.
No, 100%. So it's man, guys, responsible ownership it's key, right? And if you're not going to be responsible, keep it off the fucking internet. That's my point, right? Like, family friend. It's just, sometimes it's just got to be said point blank, right? So if you're going to keep dumb, you know, then don't put it on the internet, because you're not helping anything. And I promise you that if you're not going to, this is where I love my friend Abby, because she, you know, the curly hair keeper, you guys have heard me shout her out before, but she keeps in such a way that, like, her snakes get to free roam, and they come out, and it's very choice-based handling. And she shows that, you know, she shows that beautiful side of what you were just saying, how majestic they are, how sweet they are. And despite that, guess what? She still gets the dumb, like, not the dumb, but the question of, like, is it going to bite your face off? And, you know, and she does really good responding to that stuff and everything in a positive way. But it doesn't even matter how positive you show it, guys. You're still going to have a reaction out of people. Some people, you know, it's just the way that it's just what they know, or it's what they don't know in reality. So if you cannot do it in a positive way, quit bringing it down.
There's a good saying, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And that's a very good statement in this. With snakes, people are scared of it because there's a stigma that's attached to it, and it's not real. So that's where I always tell people when it comes to those.
That's what I tell people the same. I'm like, guys, it's literally just, you just don't have an understanding. It's an ignorance, and it's not your fault. Like, let me help you. And I've maybe had 3 people that have literally just flat out told me no out of fear. You know, everybody else at least gave it a chance. And then they were like, all of them, by the end of it, almost every one of them are like Nemo. They're like, can I touch the butt? Just let me touch the butt. You know, like, keep the face away from me, you know? And I'm like, congratulations, Nemo. And then they're like, and then I have a laugh at it, because I'm full of dad jokes and inside jokes, because that's where I'm at in life. All right. So back back to regularly scheduled programming. Steve, how do legal restrictions impact things like interstate transportation, selling, or attending expos?
All right, man. Legal restrictions impact all aspects of keeping retics and other reptiles. There are numerous breeders all over the country. But if somebody goes to a reptile show or tries to order a large snake and it's illegal for them to keep in their state, that's only going to cause other problems. And it's not going to be just problems for that one person. I mean, if anything bad happened, if the snake got out, if the snake got bit, I mean, if the snake bit somebody, anything, it could look bad for that whole area, that whole state, the whole city, whatever, which could potentially affect all reptile keepers everywhere. We've been talking about that with all the law changes. And I know this doesn't apply to all breeders, but the breeders do need to look out after the animals after selling them to the people, after the people buy them. They don't need to be in it just for the money. Sellers should ask the buyers questions to make sure that they know how well to take care of the snake properly for the long term. I mentioned that in the last episode a little bit, that with the permitting system, the old permitting system that we have here, you had to put your experience with that. You had to put your training and your education about that. And I think the sellers at these expos and things like that, are online, whatever, Morph Market, wherever you go, they need to ask questions and think about that, those people keeping that snake for the long term. And I also think if a breeder's going to sell snakes all over the country, they need to know the laws across all the states, so they don't sell to somebody that's illegal to do so. I know that puts a lot of burden on the sellers, but I just think it's something that's needed, something that can curb any accidents from happening, anything bad from happening. And I wanted to go ahead and tell the story. I mentioned this in the last episode. I had to personally deal with this. I had a lady call me. This was a couple of years ago. She'd gone to a reptile show. She bought a snake. She told the guy that she wanted just a ball python. The guy said, here's a snake. It's only 2 feet long. It's not going to get that big. She called me because it wasn't eating. She had it for over 2 months. I get over there. I said, hey, I can help you out. We'll figure out what's going on. I'll help you out with it. Come to find out, it was not a ball python. It was a reticulated python. And it was not any kind of morph. It was a normal retic, normal. So, and we know how large they can get. This guy was just in it for the money. He had sold her. He just wanted to make the sale. He sold her a snake that was only 2 feet at the time. Didn't tell her anything about it. She said she wanted a ball python, something that wasn't going to get too big, but he ended up selling her a retic that was 2 feet. Just like I said, he was just in it for the money. That's something I've had to deal with personally. I ended up trading her a ball python for the retic, so I got a retic out of the deal. She got what she originally wanted. But she wasn't educated. She didn't know. She got the wrong thing. So, like I said, it's something I've had to deal with personally, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
100%. Like, because when somebody gets taken advantage of the first time, especially if they don't know, and they're looking, it's like if you can establish enough trust there, it doesn't take a lot. You get a little bit of charisma. That's why a con artist is a con artist, right? Like they make you feel good, and then you get swindled. Guys, if you're gonna be that way, you're hurting the community, and your travel for $1, man, is gonna all in. The reality that I see is, if you guys aren't going to do, if we, not you guys, but if we are not going to do this the right way, the legal way, like we talked about kind of in the previous, this is like moonshiners, man. Like, we all watched the show and it shit went legal. It is like weed. It has been illegal and around forever. And guess what? The reptile trade has a dark, dark past. You look into it, it wasn't, but it's moving into a more positive light. What comes with that is regulation and everything else, and doing things the right way. So you're always going to have those guys. I mean, I can still get good shine out of the mountains, right? But it's legal. You can still get weed on the street. But right now, I'm buying weed in dispensaries and eggs on the street because they're too damn expensive, So it's wild. But if you're gonna do it right way, man. All right, Aaron, what you think? What's your take on this?
Refresh me with the question one more time so I don't go off topic.
Oh yeah. We're doing horrible at that to this episode, but I love it. How do legal restrictions impact things like interstate transportation, selling retics, or attending expos?
Well, so I travel across the nation right now, and the biggest concern for me has always been the Lacey Act, because if that gets rewritten, we're doomed. I can only sell in state at these expos. I would have to definitely limit my amount of breedings to just a few pairs, or even look at the uncomfortable subject of calling to keep, these animals to not going to irresponsible homes. As me as a seller, my biggest thing is you get a lifetime of my experience and knowledge with the purchase of animals. Just today, somebody I sold an animal 2 years ago called me because he wanted to ask questions about another person's animal. And you as a seller need to build these relationships with people, because in that situation, you could very well be the phone call he gives before he releases that animal into the wild, because he knows you'll be there to help him, whether it's a video conference call for 30 minutes twice a week or once a week or whatever, to show people how to pull these animals out of the enclosure, to give them the dream, not the nightmare. I always tell people, I'm not here to sell you an animal, I'm here to sell you an experience, and the comfort to know that when push comes to shove, you can call me at 2:30 in the morning and say, hey man, I'm in a bad situation, what's going on with my animal? You don't have to make a Facebook post. You can know that you can come to me, and I won't just say vet, vet, vet. And like, yeah, that everyone knows we need a vet, but right now at 2:30 in the morning, I can't get to a vet. So doing the right due diligence of venting the customers, making sure, pointing at the big snake on your table and say, this is the animal you're going to have. That's going to make it, because at the end of the day, if I don't do these steps to prevent this animal being released, laws will get tighter when that animal is found out in some park on a playground hanging out. And I don't want to ever have to sit there and be the person's like, fuck, I sold that animal to the person, and I get told all the time I'm better at not selling an animal than I am at selling an animal. And I always respond, my job's not to sell you this animal, but my job to find this animal a home. And that's the hard part with retics, is we have so many, and that's where not overbreeding, know your limits, make sure you know how to care for these animals, having appropriate enclosures so they don't get out, to prevent these laws. My biggest fear is every year the Lacey Act is just going to come back and I'm not going to be able to travel. But at the end of the day, I don't care, because I do this because I love it, not because I want the money. If I wanted the money, I would just stick with my rats. That's what pays my bills, so I can enjoy these thrills.
Yeah, no, that's a great entertain or great point on interstate, transportation, because guys, if you don't recognize this, so I just recently sold I had an Eastern Red Throat Indigo. Unfortunately, as I'm about to move, I had to let it go. Then I went, like, those are really regulated, right? It goes from state to state. And so my buddy was telling me, he's like, somebody sold it without the proper permits. It flew over 4 different states, and he got fined in each state that the damn snake flew over in transit. Okay. So guys, if you don't think that there are people out there that are in this fish and wildlife that just have a hard on for people like us, I don't know why, but I mean, they're the villain in every movie, I just watched, what was that? Chuck and Larry, the one with, and the guy's coming after him all the way through court. Like, it's that guy, that antagonist guy is, that's after him. I forget his name in the show, but man, there's that guy in every government office, somewhere, somehow. Some of them, not all of them are like that, but some of them are. And they're going to nail you for it, right? It's 100% the way it's going to go. All right, so question number 7 is, and this is actually the bonus question from last time. Somebody asked this, and I forget who, but they want to know, how do you change the laws in your state? And both of you guys have experience with this, so go for it, man. It's a free-for-all for you.
All right. Me personally, I have an excellent relationship with everyone locally, in my city, in my parish, even animal control. I could say some things about building those relationships. If we got time, I can add on to all that. But as far as getting the laws changed, especially at the state level, I'm not really sure if I could speak on that part of the topic, because Wildlife and Fisheries listened to me, but they didn't really listen. I sent emails. I mentioned that I included letters from the police, the sheriff's, fire department, animal control, on how valuable I am locally, in the community, and how needed that my services are. But Wildlife and Fisheries didn't seem to care. So at the state level, it was a little difficult for me to change that. But when you develop a good reputation among everyone locally, the word spreads, and that can build respect. And that's something that I've been doing throughout the years. The word of mouth just keeps growing and growing every year about everything that I do, and more people find out about it. So you need to build that respect and build up that good reputation. And that's why it's important. Again, I'm saying it again, I'm stressing it. You got to educate as many people as you can. Um, Now things are a little bit different for me. I'm not just a hobbyist. Steve Snakesuary is actually a business. I mentioned last time that I try to do things the right way and legally. I make sure to have all my certifications and permits updated and turned in on time. I've registered my business with the Chamber of Commerce, so that lends a lot of credibility to it. I've got a good working relationship with Animal Control. Now, Animal Control will send me all of their snake calls, because they're dealing with dogs, cats, and everything else. So I'm really helping them out. So I'm providing them a service. I'm helping them out. I'm also a firefighter in advanced EMT. Because of that, years ago, I hooked up with 911 dispatch. So now, instead of tying up firefighters, police officers, or whoever on snake calls, they're calling me. So it's freeing up those other resources. So those resources can deal with other, I hate to say this term, but more important things. Um, so I'm helping the community out that way. I'm just being that asset to the community that community needs. So I think it really helps when you build your reputation within the community. And I'm not saying everybody should have a business like me. I do over 100 educational presentations every year, and that may not be your thing. Maybe maybe you've got that fear of public speaking, but at least educate your neighbor, at least educate your family when your family comes over, when your friends come over, when whoever comes to visit, educate those people. I'm not saying you have to get up in front of a big crowd and go educate, thousands of people every year like I do, but educate the people that you can. Um, and numerous times I've had businesses come over, to do work on the house. And whenever somebody comes over to do work on the house, I get the snakes out. So I educate those people whenever they come over. So whoever you can reach, take that opportunity. Take the opportunity to educate everybody you can, to get at least one person over their fear. Again, it goes back to that ripple effect that we were talking about. Educate whoever you can. But show the local community that you actually care, that you care about them, and let them know that you are there for them, and you're there to help in any way. So I think that's the best way to do, is just build up that good reputation and let the community know you're there.
100%. I agree with that. Aaron, what do you think?
So, I mean, education's a key. I mean, when I first started, I was terrified of retics. I sold my one that I had because I was like, nope, this thing's going to eat me. I'm good. But the second I started learning about these animals and understand their behaviors, it wasn't something that I was scared of. And to make change, you have to do that same process over and over and show people and find why. Ask them, like, what do you have against these animals? Well, they're slimy. No, touch it. It's not, and breaking down those barriers, overcoming the rebuttals of why, are critical. Now, for me, I am very proactive when it comes time to reaching out to the government. I've reached out to meetings that led nowhere, because at the end of the day, if I don't sit there and do that, it's not going to be on their radar. If we don't all sit there and reach out to our senators and congressmen and mayors and say, hey, I keep these animals and I want to keep these animals and I'm doing it responsibly, they're never going to sit there and have that in their back of their mind when they're presented a bill. They're just going to say, oh, there's no businesses that will be affected. Let's just ban this animal. And it does go back to them the tax money. If they have an incentive to protect their revenue sources in a government where there's a deficit, they're going to be considerate when there's thousands and thousands of dollars pouring into their coffins to help repair schools or whatever it may be. So being proactive, just calling your senator or the city and just saying, hey, I want you guys to know I have animals and I hope you guys support them. And even just going out there and educating and like doing talks and stuff, that's a great way. But just we need to be more proactive than reactive in this industry. Oftentimes there's so many situations where there's a fire ignited. We need to be watering that area so the fire never starts. And that's my big take on it, is I just don't get why people are so quiet until it's too late. And then they're the loudest ones, but they were never at the meeting, showing up to the meetings. Even if you're just on a call on Zoom and say, I run this business, I 100% support what Phil Goss said. Please take his voice into consideration. And 20 people say that. That's going to drag out the meeting longer and make it like, okay, maybe this guy actually knows what it is. Because at the end of the day, they're just behind a desk, and what is presented to them is the evidence they're going to base their stuff off, not the decades of experience that we have that we need to show them. So just being proactive. I mean, guys, we have to do it, because on the outside, we're weird. My friends all make fun of me because I have snakes. Like, snakes? What do you got snakes? And it's like, well, why do you have a Doberman pinscher? I'm big on proponent of, we need to be louder. We need to let these people know. Just call them, send them a letter that AI, just say, hey, Senator Hickenlooper, make a message for Senator Hickenlooper on why he should allow us to have these animals, and add key points if you can't come up with something. Because AI is amazing. It will sit there and give you a long, strongly worded thing. Or when Phil Goss gives you that letter that you want to send to your senator, and you don't want to send the same thing because they're going to see 15 of the same words in the first paragraph and say, oh, that's just another auto message. Tell AI, rewrite this, but put this perspective into it. That's going to really put a different angle and something that they're actually going to be like, oh, this is different. Let's see what this guy has to say. At the end of the day, they're not going to want to take 1,000+ phone calls because they're going to say this is more hassle than it was. Just a few months ago, there was every animal that you had to have a license, whether it was a fish, hamster, gerbil, whatever, was going to need a license. So if you died, they know where to take your animal. A lot of people called. It didn't even get as far as this discussion did with PACFA and what we're going to, because so many people were drowning out the voices of the one that produced the bill to the House. So be loud, be proud, but be respectful. Don't sit there and yell at them, because if somebody's yelling at you, you're never going to want to listen. You got to put it in a nice, understanding, educating perspective. So that's all I got to say. I could go on forever, but
we all can, man. But no, I mean, I think the points have been made, and I think if you're listening to this podcast, then whether you're listening to it live or you're listening to it after the fact, the points have been made. And the reality is, guys, is that there is also a lot of ways that you can be educative and proactive. Whether it is doing what Steve does, where you're getting up in front of people, thousands of people, and doing education events, Aaron doing the same thing when he's going to shows. Or, I brought up that guy earlier and I looked it up. It's Joey Josselson, and his entire platform, he says it in that meeting. He's reaching, his platform is reaching like hundreds of thousands of people. And so figure out your niche, figure out your way. You don't have to be in front of people. If you're not a people person, you could do it just like he does. It's faceless, it's his voice, and it's the animals. And that's the reality of what people want to see anyway. But if you can educate them, showing them that they are not what these people think they are. And he's working with some of the most venomous snakes in the freaking world. And he's still, it's in his way. He figured out that niche. It's his voice. It's calming. Even when he's dealing with something that could be potentially like fatal, stuff like that, or cause issues. I mean, he's still very calm about it. And that's an educational point of view. that he brings to the table when he was talking to South Carolina is it's like, I reached this many people and you're going to eliminate that by this law. But when the time came that he had to stand up in front of people, right, and knowing what I know about people and him being a prior Navy guy working where he worked, I guarantee you I can look at him and say that he's not that social person, right? Like, but he came and he stood up in front of people when the time hit right to make it happen. But that doesn't have to be your overall all the time thing. All right. I don't have a problem talking in front of people. You can come on here. It's the YouTube is an awesome option, TikTok, everything. So there's ways to do it and bring that education to people. But if you're going to do stupid videos, please keep them off TikTok for all of our sakes. Because everybody else is like, you're either inspiring fear or you're having people laugh at you. One of the two. It's not going the way you think it is, and it's never for positive. So don't do stupid stuff on the internet. That's my take. Sorry. I'm on a rant today. I'm joining y'all because I ain't got Jeremy here to balance me out, You got
something I forgot to mention too is petitions. If you're in an area where these laws are happening or you're trying to get them changed, getting people to sign signatures, that shows a majority of people that support. If you get a high enough percent, that's something that they're going to have to actually consider. So I mean, that's a big way is out there campaigning on why. I mean, pit bulls, how many cities have gotten overturned because of pit bull laws that were unjust? It's just getting enough voices to rattle the cage.
Yeah, but I promise you, it is so much easier to beat it to the punch, guys. Like, getting laws overturned is way harder than it is to not let them happen in the first place. So take the positive, proactive route. But all right, man. Hey, I hope you guys learned a lot. I am super appreciative. Thanks for sitting in front of the pet shop, Aaron, and stealing some Wi-Fi to hang out with us. Steve, sorry. I hope that whoever you call back, they're still good and it wasn't too bad. But guys, you can catch the audio only version if you guys are not you're trying to listen to this after the fact. Spotify, Apple Podcast. They've got it. You can hear Steve and Aaron give you guys all the perspective. Go back to the first episode. You can hear Jeremy giving his as well. So there's a lot of good information, guys. And I 100% appreciate it. Once again, support USARK and USARK Florida, right? The rocket ship commands you. And
I didn't think that was a rocket ship. Not gonna lie.
Well, that's what they at the USARK auction at Tinley told me it was a rocket ship. And Adeline, who painted it, this is an Adeline original. It's my only Adeline original.
Nice.
She also told me that it was a rocket ship. So the USARK rocket ship says go support USARK and USARK Florida, guys. All right. Once again, thanks to Aaron. Thanks to Steve. Appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. Thanks to Mike in the background for doing everything that you do with the Herp Collectors Network. And guys, we will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 16. See y'all next time.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom is sound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungles deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown. Hear the echo rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.